He looked up at that old tree by the canal, and whatever was standing in it had its head touching the sky. Welcome to 3 a.m. horror audio. Some people just aren't built to be scared. You've met them. The ones who walk through pitch-black fields without a second thought. The ones who laugh when everyone else goes quiet and still. Amara Diallo was exactly that kind of man. His grandson, Kwame, told us about him. Said from the time he was a little kid, he'd watch his grandfather head out to the river alone, middle of the night, no lantern, no company, and just fish in the dark like it was nothing. They'd ask him sometimes, "Grandpa, doesn't it scare you out there, all alone like that?" And Amara would just grin. Big, easy grin. He'd say, "Scared of what? Spirits? Demons? Those things have never bothered me, and they never will." He meant every word of it. Right up until the night, something proved him wrong. This was around 1975, maybe 1976. Amara was a young man then, early 20s, hadn't gone far with his schooling. He worked the land with his father outside their village on the rural edge of Kumasi, Ghana. Long days in the fields, but the nights belonged to him and his crew. There was this thing they did back then. 5 or 6 of them would meet up after dark and play a coin game, passing money around, making small bets, laughing too loud. No bars, no entertainment centers, nothing like that. This was the nightlife, simple and loud and alive. And Amara was almost never the first one to leave. One particular evening, he and his boys headed out to their usual spot. To get there from Amara's family compound, you followed a specific path, past the cluster of homes at the edge of the village, then down toward a narrow canal, an old irrigation channel that had been carved into the earth longer than anyone could remember. Right beside that canal stood an enormous old ebony tree. Ancient thing, trunk as wide as 3 men standing together, branches sprawling out in every direction like something that had been slowly claiming that ground for centuries. Past the tree, the path thinned into a dirt trail running along the wetlands, and if you followed it far enough, you'd reach a small raised mound out near the marshes. That's where they played. Amara used to say that back then, the whole stretch of that path was thick with old growth, the kind of dense, heavy canopy that blocks out moonlight and makes even daytime feel like dusk. These days, most of those trees are gone, cleared for housing, for farms. The feeling went with them. But back then, that path had a weight to it. Everybody in the village felt it. Most people avoided it at night. Amara never did. That particular night was a full moon. One of those perfect full moons where the whole world turns silver and you almost don't need a light to see by. Amara and his friends got settled in at the mound. The coin game started. Hours dissolved, voices rising and falling, somebody telling a story that made everyone lean in, somebody else losing badly and complaining about it. That kind of night where time just stops existing. By the time they finally broke up and headed home, it was the deepest, deadest part of the night, that heavy stretch just before dawn where everything goes unnaturally still. One by one, the guys peeled off toward their own compounds. Amara set off alone down the dirt path toward the canal. He was in a good mood, humming to himself, walking easy, not rushing. He figured the night was basically over. The moonlight made everything look almost like early morning anyway. He passed the edge of the marsh, followed the trail back toward the canal. The ebony tree came into view up ahead, its massive dark shape familiar against the pale sky. He looked up. His feet stopped. Standing at the base of the tree, no, not standing at the base, standing in it. Both feet planted on the thick lower branches, but the thing's head. The thing's head was near the top of the tree, higher maybe. Amara stood there in the dirt path trying to process what his eyes were sending to his brain. The shape of it was vaguely human. 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, a head, all arranged the way a person is arranged, but the scale of it was catastrophically wrong. The arms alone hung so low, stretched so wide, that Amara had this thought, this cold, creeping, totally involuntary thought that it could reach from that canal all the way across the village without straining, that no matter how fast he ran, those arms could simply extend through the dark and lift him right off the ground like plucking a beetle off the dirt. He didn't run. Part of him screamed to spin around and sprint, full speed, don't look back, just go. But some deeper part of him understood. The distance meant nothing to something that size. Running would only tell it he was afraid, and it would catch him anyway. So he froze, right there on the path. His brain had completely shut down. A minute ago he thought it was almost morning. Now, looking at the darkness pressing in from every direction, he understood. The night was nowhere near done. He had a cigarette tucked in his waistband, matches beside it. He forgot both existed. Slowly, without deciding to, his legs gave out, and he sank to the ground, just sat there in the dirt. That's when he heard it. Something moving above him, circling. A low, rhythmic sound, like something rotating just overhead, just out of his line of sight. He could not make himself look up. The terror had locked his eyes straight forward. He sat there listening to that sound and feeling something, a presence directly above his head, close. Then the hand came down. It grabbed him by the hair. Not grabbed, seized. A grip closing around a fistful of his hair and yanking upward with a force that didn't belong to anything natural. The pain hit him all at once, sharp, total, radiating down through his neck and spine. He felt like his scalp was going to peel away from his skull. He grabbed at his own head with both hands, clawing desperately for whatever was holding him, trying to wedge his fingers between his hair and that grip. Nothing. He couldn't find anything to hold on to. Just pressure. Invisible, immovable, utterly patient pressure pulling steadily upward. He couldn't scream. He couldn't call out. He could barely breathe. Then, from somewhere down the path, drifting out of one of the compounds closer to the village, he heard a man cough. Just once, a single ordinary cough carried on the still air. Amara recognized it immediately. An older relative, someone who woke before dawn. He opened his mouth, tried to call out. Nothing came. He thought maybe the sound of another human being would be enough. Maybe the thing would pull back. It didn't. The pulling kept going, steady, patient, certain. There's no way to know how long he sat there. Time had gone completely sideways. The pain had filled up his entire world, and there was no room left for anything else. And then, thin and clear through the pre-dawn silence, a voice rose up from somewhere further in the village. The morning call to prayer from a small mosque, maybe half a mile off. No microphone, no speaker system, just a human voice, unamplified, carrying through the stillness of early morning. The village was quiet enough. The air was still enough. The sound reached him perfectly. The instant that voice rose up, the hand let go. Just like that. Gone. The pressure vanished completely, instantly, like a switch thrown in the dark. Amara sat there shaking, just breathing. Then he looked up at the ebony tree. Empty. The branches were still. The figure, whatever it had been, was simply gone. He got up, and he ran. He ran across that canal path, and he did not stop until he was inside his own compound. He did not look back once. Here's the part that still doesn't make total sense. By the time Amara got home, the fear had somehow lifted, like whatever dark weight had been pressing down on him released the moment he crossed into familiar ground. Strange. He went to the well, drew water, washed his face and hands. Then he slipped quietly into the kitchen and ate, fish stew left over from the night before, moving carefully so no one would hear him. His father had already left for morning prayers. If his family found out he'd been gone all night, the argument would be brutal. He wasn't looking for that on top of everything else. After eating, he stepped outside near the old water basin and lit a cigarette. Standing there in the pale early light, he actually started to feel almost normal, like maybe the worst of it was behind him. Then he coughed. Dry, sharp. He looked down. Blood. Bright red. Fresh. He coughed again. More blood. Again. More blood. His throat was producing it steadily now, and the pain in his scalp, that specific terrible pain from where the thing had gripped him, came flooding back all at once, radiating down through his neck and spine. He stood there by the basin staring at his own hands, completely unable to understand what was happening inside his own body. He went inside and woke his mother. His father came back from prayers minutes later and walked straight into the scene.
his son pale, shaking, blood on his mouth, barely holding himself upright. Amara told him everything. His father's first reaction was anger. You stayed out all night gambling. You came home and ate a full meal without even cleaning yourself properly first. Of course something is wrong. That's what you get for this nonsense. But as the story came out, and as the bleeding continued, the anger shifted. Quietly, practically. His father stopped mid-sentence, looked at his son for a long moment, and walked out the door to find the healer. The man they brought was named Kweku Asante, known across several villages. The kind of man people sought out when conventional medicine had already failed, or when they knew from the start it wasn't going to be enough. It took the better part of an hour to bring him back to the compound. By then, Amara's condition had gotten significantly worse. The bleeding from his throat was near constant now, and there was a smell coming off him. Thick, wrong, something that had no business coming from a living person. Kweku came into the room, looked at Amara, and said quietly, "This young man is in serious trouble. Something very dark has touched him. We start right now, or there's nothing I'll be able to do." He asked Amara to tell him everything. Amara went through all of it. The figure on the tree, the impossible height, the circling sound, the hand, the prayer call, all of it. Kweku listened without interrupting once. When Amara finished, the healer began his work. What happened during that cleansing is the part Amara's family still talks about in low voices. As Kweku performed the ritual, prayers, herbs, movements that followed some internal logic Amara's family didn't fully understand, a substance began emerging from Amara's skin, slick, foamy, like dense white foam, but oily, almost iridescent where the morning light caught it. It ran down his arms and neck and dripped onto the earthen floor. The smell that came with it cleared the room of everyone except Kweku and Amara's father. Even he had to step outside twice. It went on for a long time. Amara was barely conscious through most of it. He couldn't really track what was happening to his own body, just sensations, pressure, the feeling of being struck over and over from the inside. His father, watching from the doorway, later said it was one of the most disturbing things he had ever witnessed in his life, and this was a man who had seen a great deal. When the foam finally stopped and the smell faded, Kweku sat back and spoke directly to Amara's father. "What stopped your son on that path was not a minor spirit. It is an ancient, powerful entity, the kind that has claimed that stretch of the canal as its territory for longer than any living person in this village can account for. It marked your son earlier in the night. When it saw him heading home alone before dawn, it moved to stop him. Your son survived for 2 reasons. First, he didn't completely break. He stayed put instead of running blindly, and that actually limited what the entity could do. Second, the morning prayer call came just in time. That sound broke its hold at the critical moment. Without it, the damage would have been fatal within days." He paused. His voice dropped lower. "But understand this, the entity has not gone away. It retreated because it had to. The moment it encounters your son again on that path at night, any night, it will finish what it started. There will be no second chance. And the fact that your son ate a full meal when he got home, before purifying himself, that gave the entity's influence a foothold in his body. That is why the damage spread so quickly. The treatment has worked, but the danger does not end today." Kweku gave Amara's father a set of protective instructions, specific prayers, things to keep close, things to avoid. He accepted his payment quietly, nodded once, and left without pleasantries. Amara spent most of the following week in bed. The blood loss alone had hollowed him out. He slept long hours, ate almost nothing. His mother checked on him constantly, but he recovered. Slowly, steadily, he came back. He never walked that path alone at dark again, not once, not for the rest of his life. And he never laughed at the things in the dark again either. That was The Giant by the Canal Tree, a true story passed down through a family who lived it in their own words. If something about this one stuck with you, good. It should. You've been listening to 3 a.m. Horror Audio, where real stories go to keep you awake. If this one got under your skin, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. We drop new stories every week, and trust me, some of what's coming is going to be hard to shake. And if something has happened to you, something you've never been able to explain, something that still doesn't make sense in the daylight, send it to us. Real stories only. Details matter. We read everything. Stay safe out there. And whatever you do tonight, don't walk home alone. This is 3 a.m. Horror Audio. We'll see you in the dark. and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. We drop new stories every week, and trust me, some of what's coming is going to be hard to shake. And if something has happened to you, something you've never been able to explain, something that still doesn't make sense in the daylight, send it to us. Real stories only. Details matter. We read everything. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do tonight, don't walk home alone. This is 3 a.m. Horror Audio. We'll see you in the dark.